First steps beyond. The quantum communications array aboard the UNSS Hawking wasn't supposed to pick up anything out here, not in the uncharted expanse between the Carina and Vela arms of the Milky Way. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood at her command station, dark eyes fixed on the wavering signal that Lieutenant Park's team had isolated from the background noise of space. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the growing tension on the bridge. The signal cut through the air once more, a series of pulses and long-wave transmissions that shouldn't exist this far from Earth's colonies. "It's definitely human in origin, Captain," Park confirmed, his fingers dancing across his holographic interface. "The encoding matches late 22nd century protocols. But that's impossible. No human ships ventured out this far back then." Maya knew better. She'd studied the lost missions, the failed attempts at early colonization that had marked humanity's first stumbling steps into the cosmos. "The Hyperion," she whispered, more to herself than her crew. Cross-referenced the signal pattern with the Hyperion's last known transmission. The massive colony ship had vanished without a trace in 2198, carrying 10,000 souls and humanity's dreams of reaching the stars. Now, 2 centuries later, its ghost had returned to haunt them. "Match confirmed," Park announced, his voice cracking with excitement. 85% correlation with the Hyperion's signature. "Captain, we found them." Maya allowed herself a moment to absorb the magnitude of their discovery. The Hyperion wasn't just any lost ship. It represented humanity's greatest tragedy in space exploration, a cautionary tale taught to every cadet at the Academy. Its disappearance had nearly derailed the entire colonial program. "Alert command," she ordered, straightening her uniform, "and plot a course to the signal's origin. Let's see what became of our lost brothers and sisters." The Hawking's quantum drives hummed to life, pushing the exploration vessel through the fabric of space-time. As they traveled, Maya reviewed the historical records. The Hyperion had been ambitious. Too ambitious, many had said. Using experimental fold space technology, it had attempted to bridge vast distances in a single jump. Something had gone wrong, and the ship had vanished mid-transit. "Signal source is approximately 3 light-years ahead," Commander Sarah Chen reported from navigation. "But Captain, there's something else. We're picking up artificial structures in orbit around a G-type star." Maya's heart raced. On screen, the main display flickered to life, showing a distant star system. As the computer enhanced and clarified the image, her breath caught. Orbital platforms circled the third planet, their design unlike anything in Earth's current arsenal. They were elegant, efficient, and unmistakably advanced. "Life signs?" she asked, already suspecting the answer. "Millions," Chen confirmed. "Human readings, but there are variations we can't explain. And the technology signatures, they're beyond anything we have." The implications staggered Maya. The lost colonists hadn't just survived. They'd thrived. In their isolation, they'd built something entirely new, advancing along their own technological path. This wasn't just first contact with long-lost humans. It was the discovery of an entirely parallel branch of human civilization. "Open a channel," she ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves to our cousins." The response came almost immediately, in crystal-clear quantum communications that shouldn't have been possible with 200-year-old technology. A face appeared on the main screen, human, yet subtly different. The woman's eyes were larger than normal, adapted perhaps to different lighting conditions, and her skin had a faint bluish tinge that suggested biological modifications. "This is Director Elena Vasquez of the Hyperion Colony," the woman announced, her accent and strange blend of Earth's languages evolved over 2 centuries of isolation. "We've been expecting you, Earth ship. Welcome to Novaterra." Maya exchanged glances with her senior staff. The confidence in Director Vasquez's voice, the casual display of advanced technology. This wasn't the reunion with lost colonists they'd anticipated. This was something far more complex. "Director Vasquez, I'm Captain Maya Rodriguez of the UNSS Hawking. We've spent generations searching for the Hyperion. There are many questions we'd like to ask. As do we, Captain. Elena replied with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. 200 years is a long time. We've had to make adaptations to survive here. I suspect you'll find we're quite different from the colony that left Earth. Different how? Maya asked, noting the subtle tensions in the director's posture. Perhaps it would be better to show you. We'll transmit coordinates for a safe approach vector to our main orbital station. There's much to discuss about the past and the future. The transmission ended, leaving Maya and her crew to contemplate the magnitude of what they'd discovered. Orders, Captain. Commander Chen asked. Maya took a deep breath, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. This was why they'd come out here. To explore, to discover, to bridge the gaps between the stars. And now they'd found something beyond their wildest expectations. A branch of humanity that had evolved in isolation, developing technologies and adaptations Earth had never dreamed of. Follow their vector, she decided, but maintain alert status. We're about to meet family we never knew we had, and family reunions don't always go smoothly. As the Hawking moved closer to Novaterra, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were crossing a threshold from which there would be no return. Humanity had just discovered it wasn't alone in the cosmos, not because they'd found aliens, but because they'd found themselves, transformed by time and distance into something both familiar and strange. The real question was, after 2 centuries of separation, could these 2 branches of humanity find common ground? Or would their differences prove too vast to bridge? Maya had a feeling they were about to find out. The lost colony. The orbital station, Ascendant, was nothing like the utilitarian structures Maya had trained on back in Earth's solar system. Its spiraling arms caught the light of Novaterra's sun, the crystalline surfaces refracting patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mathematics. As the Hawking shuttle approached the docking bay, Maya noticed how the station's design emphasized efficiency without sacrificing beauty, a philosophy Earth's architects had long abandoned in favor of pure functionality. Dr. James Chen, the Hawking's chief xenobiologist, leaned forward in his seat, eyes wide behind his diagnostic lenses. Their adaptation to the local environment is remarkable, he murmured, scanning the dock workers who guided their shuttle in. Look at their muscle density, their bone structure. 200 years of slightly higher gravity has left its mark. Maya understood. The descendants of the Hyperion's crew moved with a fluid grace that spoke of bodies engineered to thrive in their new home. Their skin bore that distinctive bluish tint she'd noticed in Director Vasquez, a deliberate modification, she now suspected, though its purpose remained unclear. A delegation waited for them as they disembarked. Director Vasquez stood at its head, flanked by what appeared to be both security personnel and scientific advisors. Up close, the differences between the 2 human populations became even more apparent. Captain Rodriguez, Elena greeted them, extending her hand in a gesture that felt deliberately old-fashioned. Welcome to Ascendant. I trust you'll find our hospitality hasn't suffered from 2 centuries of isolation. Maya clasped the offered hand, noting its strength and slightly lower temperature. Director, we have so many questions. As do we, Elena interrupted smoothly. But first, let us show you what the Hyperion's children have built here. I think you'll find it illuminating. The tour that followed challenged everything Maya thought she knew about human technological development. The Novaterrans, as they called themselves, hadn't just survived. They'd reimagined what human civilization could be. Their quantum computing systems were integrated with biological components. Their energy generation drew power directly from subspace fluctuations, and their medical technology seemed to blur the line between healing and enhancement. Your advances are incredible, Dr. Chen remarked as they observed a medical procedure where nanoscale machines repaired cellular damage in real time. But the ethical implications. Ethics. One of the Novaterran scientists, Dr. Marcus Webb, smiled thinly. Ethics evolve, Doctor. When you're stranded light years from home, with limited resources, survival takes precedence over philosophical debates about human enhancement. The tension in the room crystallized. Maya could sense the underlying current of superiority in Webb's tone, a belief that the Novaterrans had moved beyond what they saw as Earth's primitive restrictions on human modification. We faced hard choices, Elena explained, perhaps sensing the growing discomfort. The Hyperion's fold space drive didn't just malfunction, it shattered our connection with Earth's spacetime. We emerged here with damaged systems, limited supplies, and a hostile environment. Adaptation wasn't just desirable, it was mandatory. Maya watched a group of children pass by, their movements too precise, their eyes too aware. And the modifications began with the first generation. Elena's expression softened slightly. We did what we had to do to survive. Each generation was engineered to better withstand the challenges of our new home. Higher radiation levels, stronger gravity, different atmospheric composition. We remade ourselves to thrive here. At what cost? Dr. Chen asked quietly. Cost. Elena's voice hardened. We survived. We built the civilization that surpassed Earth's capabilities in many areas. We didn't just preserve humanity. We advanced it. The tour continued, but the initial warmth had cooled. Maya noticed how the Novaterran security detail watched their every move, how certain areas remained conspicuously off-limits. They were being shown a carefully curated version of this society, and she couldn't shake the feeling that darker truths lurked beneath the surface. During a private moment, Commander Sarah Chen pulled Maya aside. Captain, their quantum communications technology. It's not just advanced, it's fundamentally different from ours. The principles they're using, they shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of physics. Maya nodded. She'd noticed other anomalies, subtle inconsistencies in the Novaterran story. The level of advancement they'd achieved in just 2 centuries seemed improbable, even with genetic enhancement and desperate necessity driving innovation. There's something they're not telling us, she murmured. Something about how they really ended up here, or what they found when they arrived. The day's tour concluded with a formal dinner that highlighted another difference between the two cultures. The Novaterrans ate synthesized proteins and engineered nutrients, their meals designed for perfect biological efficiency rather than pleasure. They watched with barely concealed disdain as the Earth delegation enjoyed the more traditional food prepared especially for them. You cling to inefficient traditions, Dr. Webb observed, watching Maya savor a piece of actual bread. Sentiment over function. Our traditions connect us to our humanity, Maya replied carefully. They remind us where we came from. Perhaps that's the difference between us, Elena interjected. We chose to focus on where we're going, not where we came from. Earth is a memory. Nova Terra is our future. As Maya prepared to return to the Hawking that night, Elena pulled her aside for one final conversation. Captain, I sense your unease. You're wondering if we're still human enough to be called your cousins. Maya met the director's modified gaze steadily. The question isn't whether you're human enough, Director. It's whether you've forgotten what humanity means in your rush to transcend it. Elena's smile was enigmatic. Tomorrow, we'll show you our planetary facilities. Perhaps then you'll understand. We haven't forgotten our humanity. We've simply redefined it. The real question is, can Earth accept a version of humanity that's chosen to evolve beyond its origins? As their shuttle returned to the Hawking, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this reunion of lost cousins was about to become far more complicated than anyone had anticipated. The Novaterrans' achievements were remarkable, but their divergence from Earth's values raised troubling questions about the future relationship between the two branches of humanity. And somewhere beneath the surface of all their interactions lurked a mystery. The true story of how the Hyperion had come to this place, and what its crew had discovered that set them on such a radically different path of human development. Common ground. The warning came during their descent to Nova Terra's surface. Maya felt the shuttle shudder as something rippled through local space, a disturbance that set every sensor screaming. Director Vasquez's face paled, her engineered composure cracking for the first time since their arrival. "Return to orbit immediately," she ordered, all pretense of diplomatic courtesy forgotten. "Something's awakening in the outer system." The shuttle pilot, a Novaterran named Kai, didn't question the order. His augmented reflexes sent their craft climbing back toward space at acceleration levels that would have injured unmodified humans. Thanks to the inertial dampeners, technology far beyond Earth's current capabilities, they'd barely felt the G-forces. "Director," Maya said quietly, "I think it's time you told us what you're really dealing with out here." Elena's modified eyes fixed on Maya, calculating. After a moment, she nodded. "You're right. Take us to the Hawking. Your crew needs to see this too." An hour later, Maya stood with her senior staff in the Hawking's primary conference room, watching a holographic display that showed something impossible. Throughout the outer reaches of the Novaterra system, ancient structures were stirring to life. Massive crystalline arrays that had laid dormant for millennia. "We call it the grid," Elena explained, her voice tight. "It was here when we arrived, a defense system left behind by someone. We've never discovered who built it, but its purpose is becoming clear. It eliminates civilizations it deems threatening." Dr. Chen leaned forward, fascinated despite the obvious danger. "You've been studying it all this time." "Studying it, learning from it, using its technology to advance our own." Elena's admission came with a hint of defiance. "It's how we progressed so rapidly. But now," she gestured at the display, where more structures were activating. "Now it's waking up, and we believe it sees both our civilizations as threats." Commander Chen's tactical training kicked in. "Your weapons, can they affect these structures?" "To a degree. We've managed to disable individual nodes before, but never anything on this scale." Elena's modified fingers traced patterns in the air, updating the display. "The grid is adaptive. Each engagement teaches it how to counter our technology." Maya understood now. The Novaterrans' obsession with enhancement and efficiency hadn't just been about survival. They'd been preparing for this moment, reshaping themselves to fight an enemy that had already destroyed who knew how many civilizations. "Why now?" she asked. "What triggered it?" "Your arrival," Dr. Webb answered, entering the room. "The grid detects civilizations that achieve certain technological benchmarks. Earth developing quantum communications, reaching this far into space. Combined with our own advancement, it's pushed us over some threshold in its programming." The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. By finding their lost cousins, Earth had inadvertently triggered an ancient defense system that might destroy both branches of humanity. The Novaterrans' secretiveness, their aggressive advancement. It all made terrible sense. "We need to work together," Maya said firmly. "Earth's approach to technology, combined with your advancements." "Impossible," Webb interrupted. "Your systems are incompatible with ours. Your crews couldn't interface with our technology without extensive modification." "Then we adapt," Maya countered. "Not by changing our bodies, but by finding ways to make our technologies work together. You've focused on biological solutions. We've developed different approaches. Together, we might see options you've missed." Elena and Webb exchanged looks. Maya could almost see the rapid calculations happening behind their enhanced eyes. Finally, Elena spoke. "We've detected a smaller grid node recently activated. If we could capture it intact." "A joint mission," Maya finished. "Your knowledge of the grid, our fresh perspective. We might learn enough to find a weakness." The next few hours were a flurry of preparation. The Novaterrans shared what they knew about the grid, its quantum crystalline architecture, its ability to manipulate spacetime, its seemingly impossible energy generation. In return, Maya's crew offered new analytical approaches, ways of thinking that centuries of isolation had denied their cousins. Dr. Chen worked with Webb, comparing their different approaches to quantum mechanics. The Novaterrans had pushed deep into biological computing, while Earth had focused on artificial intelligence and traditional quantum systems. The combination sparked new theories, new possibilities. The grid's quantum field signatures, Chen muttered, examining data from both civilizations' sensors. They're not random. There's a pattern we couldn't see before. Commander Chen and her tactical team study the Novaterran's previous encounters with grid nodes, finding weaknesses in the ancient system's combat algorithms. It adapts quickly, she reported, but its responses are predictable if you know what to look for. It's powerful, but not creative. As they prepared for the joint mission, Maya watched Earth's crew working alongside their modified cousins. The initial distrust was fading, replaced by professional respect and shared purpose. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, to find common ground in the face of shared threats. Perhaps this is what we needed, Alina said softly, joining Maya at the observation window. A reminder that despite our differences, we're still human, still family. Maya nodded. Different paths, same destination. Survival. And perhaps more than survival, Alina added. The grid's builders reached a level of technology we can barely comprehend. If we can understand it, disable it. We'll have done it together, Maya finished. As humanity should. The alert klaxon interrupted their moment of understanding. The grid was expanding its activation sequence, more nodes coming online throughout the system. Their window of opportunity was closing. Maya straightened her uniform. Time to move. Let's show this ancient system what happens when humanity stands united. As the joint Earth-Nova-Terra task force prepared for their mission, Maya couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. They'd found their lost family among the stars, and though time and circumstance had changed them almost beyond recognition, their shared humanity still shone through. Now they faced a common enemy, one that would test both branches of humanity to their limits. The real question was, could they overcome centuries of divergent development in time to face the threat together? The next few hours would provide their answer. United Front. The Joint Strike Team assembled in the Hawking's launch bay presented a stark visual contrast between Earth's traditional space forces and Novaterra's enhanced operators. Maya watched as Commander Chen's tactical team, clad in Earth's standard void armor, performed final checks alongside Novaterran operatives whose bioengineered bodies required only minimal environmental protection. The target node is powering up faster than anticipated, Kai reported, his augmented vision interfaced directly with the sensor feeds. We have maybe 2 hours before it fully integrates with the grid network. Maya nodded, turning to Alina. Your people are sure about the insertion point. As sure as we can be, Alina replied. The node's quantum shielding has a fluctuation pattern. For approximately 30 seconds every cycle, there's a weakness we can exploit. She paused, her modified eyes analyzing Maya's expression. But Captain, you should know, no Novaterran team has ever successfully breached a node's interior. We've only theorized what we might find inside. Then it's good you've got us to help, Maya said with a grim smile. Sometimes fresh eyes see what familiar ones miss. The mission plan was ambitious, combining Earth's traditional military doctrine with Novaterra's advanced technology. The Hawking would provide cover fire, using conventional weapons to occupy the node's automated defenses. Meanwhile, a specially modified shuttle carrying the Joint Strike Team would slip through the quantum shield during one of its fluctuations. Dr. Chen had worked with Webb to develop a hybrid interface system, allowing Earth's crew to interpret the node's internal systems without needing biological augmentation. It wasn't elegant, but it would have to do. Remember, Webb instructed as he distributed quantum resonance devices to the Earth team. These will translate the node's data structures into something your unaugmented brains can process. But they're prototypes. Use them sparingly. Commander Chen checked her weapon, a traditional railgun modified with Novaterran energy cells. And if we encounter active defenses inside, then we improvise, Alina said. The grid's internal security has never encountered unmodified humans. Your natural unpredictability might be an advantage. The mission launched under the cover of a radiation storm, natural interference that might help mask their approach. Maya stood on the Hawking's bridge, watching as the shuttle carried their best hope for survival toward the massive crystalline structure that hung against the stars like a geometric wound in space. Node's defensive systems are activating, Lieutenant Park reported from his station. Beginning countermeasures. The Hawking opened fire, its conventional weapons enhanced by Novaterran energy modulators. Beams of coherent light and streams of hyperaccelerated particles struck the node's outer shell, creating a dazzling display of deflected energy. Shuttle approaching insertion point, Commander Chen's voice crackled over the quantum comm. Shield fluctuation in 10 seconds. Maya held her breath as the tiny craft approached the massive structure. For a moment, it seemed like they'd mistimed it. The shuttle appeared to bounce off an invisible barrier. Then, like a bubble popping, it slipped through. "We're in," Chen reported. "Beginning interior navigation. These corridors, they're like nothing we've seen before." Through the team's feeds, Maya watched as they made their way deeper into the node. The interior was a maze of crystalline passages that seemed to shift and flow, as if the structure itself was alive. The Novaterran operatives moved with inhuman grace, while Earth's soldiers advanced with careful precision. "Energy signatures are increasing," Kai reported. "The node's definitely building toward something." Multiple contacts. Chen's voice suddenly cut through the comm. "Some kind of automated defense. They're not like anything in the Novaterran database." Maya watched through the tactical feeds as silvery shapes emerged from the crystal walls, constructs that seemed to exist partially in normal space and partially in some other dimension. The Earth team's modified weapons seemed to pass right through them. "Physical weapons are ineffective," Chen reported, her voice tight with tension. "Novaterra team, any suggestions?" But the Novaterrans were having their own problems. Their usual tactics, relying heavily on their biological enhancements, seemed to confuse rather than damage the defenders. The constructs adapted quickly, learning from each failed attack. Then Dr. Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "The resonance devices, they're not just for translation. If we modify the frequency." Webb caught on immediately. "Yes, the constructs exist partly in quantum space. If we can disrupt their quantum coherence." Working together, the Earth and Novaterra teams quickly recalibrated their equipment. The next time the silvery defenders appeared, they were met with a barrage of quantum disruption pulses. The effect was immediate. The constructs destabilized, their partial existence in normal space collapsing entirely. "Path to the central chamber is clear," Chen reported. "But these readings, Captain, it's like nothing we've ever encountered. The energy levels are off the charts. The node's reaching critical activation," Webb added. "Whatever it's building toward, it's happening now." Maya exchanged glances with Elena. Everything hinged on what they discovered in that central chamber, and whether their two civilizations, but their victory was short-lived. The central pillar's light suddenly intensified, and a voice, not sound, but pure information, filled their minds. "Criteria and 8. Dual evolution solution, HCEPT'd." The chamber's patterns shifted, and in the center of the room, a holographic display materialized, but one that operated on principles far beyond even the Novaterran's understanding. It showed galaxies, civilizations, cycles of rise and fall spanning millions of years. "It's a repository," Dr. Chen whispered. "The grid wasn't just testing us. It was protecting the combined knowledge of countless civilizations, waiting for someone capable of understanding it." "Not just understanding," Elena's voice came over the comm. "The grid was waiting for a species that could evolve along different paths and still work together. Our separation, our different approaches to survival, it wasn't an obstacle. It was the key." The voice came again. "Divergent evolution demonstrated. Adaptive capabilities co-environment. Ars HFY access guaranteed." Maya's voice was filled with awe. "Both Earth and Novaterra, different but united. We passed the test not by being perfect, but by being human, in all our various forms. The grid began to power down, its ancient defenses deactivating across the system. In their place, interfaces began to appear, some suited to Earth's traditional technology, others designed for Novaterra's biological computers. The grid was offering its knowledge in forms both civilizations could access. "This is going to change everything," Webb said, his usual confidence replaced by wonder. "The combined knowledge of who knows how many civilizations. Which is why we need to face it together," Commander Chen replied. "Earth's caution and Novaterra's advancement, in balance. We're stronger together than we ever were apart." As the teams began the process of accessing and securing the node, Maya and Elena shared a private comm channel. "We thought we were so different," Elena said, "that our path was the only way forward. And Earth thought tradition was the only way to preserve our humanity," Maya replied. "We were both wrong, and both right. Being human isn't about the form we take. It's about our ability to adapt, to change, and still remain true to who we are." The grid's archive would take generations to fully understand, but its first gift was already clear. It had forced humanity's separated children to remember their shared heritage and forge a new future together. Earth's traditional path and Novaterra's radical evolution weren't opposing forces, but complementary approaches to the same goal: survival and growth. As the joint team began their work, the stars seemed a little brighter, the future a little wider. Humanity had not only found its lost children among the stars, it had discovered a new way forward, one that embraced both tradition and transformation. The legacy of two worlds would light the way for generations to come, as humanity took its place among the stars not as one path, but as many paths leading to the same destination, a future worthy of all their sacrifices, innovations, and dreams.